Ciao, welcome to Delicious Italian. Today what I'd like to show you how to make is a tomato basil sauce. This is a super fast sauce to put together. It's really delicious and it just requires a few ingredients. I've got a couple of yellow onions here that I'm just slicing. I have some extra virgin olive oil to start with. I have lots of fresh basil, and I have a couple of cans of San Marzano tomatoes. Now, San Marzano tomatoes are really delicious Italian tomatoes. They can be found in most supermarkets, or if you have a Little Italy in your town, but they really are readily available and they really are the best. So that's my tomato of choice always. I would encourage you to buy them as well. They do cost a little bit more, but when you're talking about really simple foods, really the ingredients matter so much, because putting them together in a certain way, but also if you start off with poor ingredients, you're not going to get really a delicious sauce. So that's really important, and I live by that rule. So our onions are sliced. I've got the San Marzano tomatoes here, got some fresh basil, extra virgin olive oil, and salt and pepper. Let's get started here. Putting my burner on high, and I'm adding olive oil to coat the bottom of the pan. It's probably about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, but it's a loose measurement and you can do a little more or a little less. I'm actually going to add my onions to this pan before it's super hot. Okay, our onions are nice and golden. They've got some good color on them, and it's time to add the tomatoes. Now I add these tomatoes right in, just whole like that. There we go. All right, so it's kind of unusual to add the tomatoes to the pan whole like I just did, but that's because I'm going to use my immersion blender right in the pan here at the end. This is going to be a smooth sauce, but you can also make it a chunky sauce if you want, either by crushing the tomatoes by hand, or by chopping them up, or putting them in a blender, or however you like to do them. But I like it to be a smooth sauce, but again, it could go either way. Now I have a lot of basil here, and I'm going to add a big handful of basil right in. Again, it's not chopped. Now I want the cooked flavor of basil in here, and I also want the fresh flavor of basil. So what I will do is, after this is done and we've processed it, I will add more basil to the pan, and I'll add that basil after I've chopped it. So we're going to add some salt, nice big pinch of salt. You always want to start at the beginning by salting, and then you'll want to taste it and add more salt at the end if it needs it. Not too far at the end, because you don't want it to be just salt on top. You want the salt to be cooked into that sauce. So, but just check it when your sauce is almost done. See if it needs a little adjustment on the salt or more pepper. You saw that I added some pepper there. That is it for this sauce. We're going to let this simmer for about 30 minutes, and then we'll take a look at it. All right, so what I've done is I've rinsed out my tomato cans and added just a little bit of water to this sauce. This is smelling so good. I wish you could smell this right now. Our sauce is ready, and it's time to process it. I use an immersion blender. You could do this in a food processor or a regular blender, but I really like this because there's no transferring of that super hot sauce from one thing to the other. It's just much easier. If you don't have one of these, I would encourage you to get one. I use it for so many things, and it's really great. So very carefully, without lifting this out of the pot as I do this, want to keep it inside the sauce so that it doesn't splatter. So I'm just going to slowly move it around and process this whole sauce till it's nice and smooth. Now you can make this a chunky sauce if you prefer. You can smash the tomatoes when you put them into the pot. You can chop the onions smaller, and you can chop the basil right when you put it in. Like I said, I'm going to add some chopped basil right at the end, but I like that cooked basil flavor and then the fresh basil flavor as well. Let me finish doing this. All right, so it's time to add some nice freshly chopped basil, and it'll go right in. This really is a delicious sauce, and I wish you could smell it. It smells so good and fresh, and it's just all good ingredients. And really, that's what simple cooking is about, is the quality of the ingredients that you use. Now I'm going to taste this for salt and make sure it's good. It's great. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do to this sauce is add a little bit of olive oil to finish it off. It's very typical in Italy to finish off a sauce at the end with olive oil, or even at the table, a little drizzle of raw olive oil over the top of many dishes is very commonplace. I hope you enjoyed this recipe for a very simple, delicious tomato sauce, and I hope you'll tune in again for more delicious Italian. Buon appetito!